Welcome to Coffee and Conversation. My name is Honorine, and today I'm with Luis Porto, who is pursuing a PhD in mechanical engineering. Luis, welcome and thank you for being with me today.
Thank you, Honorine, for the invitation. I'm ready.
Perfect. So let's start with a little introduction.
I am 30 years old, Colombian. I was born in Cartagena, the Indies. Really proud of my heritage, of my roots. Consider Colombian and Hispanic, a Latin people. I was born there. I was raised there. I got my professional degree, my undergrad degree there in my hometown, and I started to work for a company. And then after working there for 2 years, I got this little desire for going abroad of my country to explore the world. And I found myself in a situation where I was not, or at least the company that I was working for, they were like suffering economical consequences. And I think that was like a good moment for me to take my wins, and I left the country. I went to Spain to pursue a master in renewable energy. I think like everything came perfectly in that moment. Even though one door was closing for me, I found one open door, and it was amazing. I went to Spain to study a master through a scholarship from the Spanish government. It is called Fundación Carolina, and it is kind of like the Fulbright there in Spain. So I was there for 10 months. I was able to get my degree and also to explore Europe. I traveled around 13 countries, not just in Europe. I went to Africa, and it was a really nice experience in general. Like being able to study, to live abroad, helped me to understand more things about life, culture, history. That was just the beginning. And in fact, when I was there, I was already planning to come to the US. I was like dreaming about come to the US to pursue my PhD. By that moment, I was not thinking about FSU. I didn't know about FSU. But I'm glad. I mean, after so many years, I'm glad to be here. I am enjoying this experience. I am so happy. It has been a nice process. It has been a process where I can see how I have been evolving, transforming. Even though I was there exploring and doing different things, I was like, okay, now I would like to switch a little bit the game. I would like to go to the US. I would like to see how different it is, the country, how different it is gonna be for me, how different it is from Europe, how different it is from my home country, Colombia. Let's try to explore that. Well, after I got my master's degree there in Spain, I was required as part of the program to go back to Colombia, to stay there, for some time to give back to my country what I was already receiving there in Spain. And I did it. I worked there for 1 year. I was working in a PV photovoltaic company, where I was able to know my country better. I was traveling all over the country. I went to different parts of the country, doing my job, which was like supporting the installations of PV systems, photovoltaic system, going basically to rural areas, areas where people were not able to access to the grid, to energy. And I was like experienced that. What I saw during my master, during my classes, I was just like in front of it. I was seeing people like how the energy, access to energy was changing their life, and being able to experience that in firsthand. It is something that I'm not gonna change, that I'm gonna remember for my life. And I think that also like strengthened my CV, my profile. And by the time that I was working there, I was already applying to grad school here in the US. I applied to the Fulbright program. I'm starting my 5th year here as a PhD in mechanical engineering at FSU. So glad to be a Seminole.
That's awesome. Wow, so many things happen in such a small amount of time.
Yeah, true. Exactly.
Are you so you said you're in your fifth year. Are you in your last year or your program lasts longer?
Yeah, this is the year that I consider to be my last. I'm planning to defend my thesis at the end of this academic year. So hopefully, yeah, graduating soon. I mean,
Yeah,
at the end of the year.
we're in
Exactly.
the same club. I'm also graduating this year. So I
Oh,
know how tough it must be for you and how you must be struggling.
yeah, true. That's a good word.
Yeah, lots of pressure,
Lots
from
of pressure, lots of things to do, yeah.
lots of changes. I was not expecting that. Everybody said, the last year is tough. And I was like, oh, what's so hard? Like I was very organized with my dissertation. I was like, I'm gonna finish on time. I'm not gonna be stressed. I don't work very well last minute. But I did not realize that, you have the pressure of finding a job, of finding what you want to do with that degree.
Exactly.
You've been in
Yeah.
school your whole life, for most people. I mean, you did have some work experience, but now, after a PhD, you've achieved the highest degree. So it's not like you cannot go back to school.
Yeah, true. And it's gonna bring some challenges too, on
Yeah.
professional and personal levels. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Things that I was not expecting that. All right. So where do I start? I have so many questions. So let's talk about your experience in Spain. And it seemed
Yeah.
like you had an amazing time over there. You traveled a lot. It
Yes.
was
Yes.
awesome. Why didn't you want to pursue a PhD there?
Well, different things. I think probably when I went there, I was already thinking about the US. You know, I was already thinking about, okay, I would like to go to the US in the future. And being there was just a confirmation. It was like, okay, yeah, the US, it is now like the step to go, or the target to go. Because, for example, in my case, or at least in the area where I'm working, a lot of the research, it is coming from the US. A lot of the developments and advances are coming from the US.
So you knew that Spain was always more like what would enable you to go to the
Exactly.
US afterwards. Okay.
Exactly. It was like a step on a ladder, like, so I was looking for it.
You said how you've been transformed by your experience abroad, but also, going back to Colombia, you also saw how much you grew as a person. Would you say that, traveling all over Colombia for your job and going into those rural areas where people didn't have access to energy, was it part of your transformation?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely it was part of this process of transformation, being able to understand how privileges and opportunities work for all. It is huge. It is also a challenge you need to face. For example, what you and I, what we take for granted, access to electricity, it is not something, for all, or at least the situation is changing. But being able to understand that, to see that, as I was there, I was experiencing what they were experiencing. I was living what they were living. Being there for some days without access to electricity, without access to hot water. I was like taking bath with cold water, and that's something regular there. That's something that they get to see every day. Um, they don't know, or at least they don't use fridges. They don't know what it is to use a fridge as we are using it daily. Okay, you can go to the fridge and you can get what you need, or this or that. No, no, it is something that they don't have access to, or I mean, something as simple as communication. I remember a lady telling me that she was always going to the closest village that was like 3 hours away from there, just walking, practically hiking, because it was like going down the mountain. And she was like bringing different batteries to charge them up and to use them as a backup once the the current battery was like run out. So she was telling me that was part of her life, like doing that regularly in order to communicate, to call her relative, because she was from another region. And all of these processes, I mean, going to Spain, going to different parts of my countries, yeah, that really took a toll on me, and I was able to see, how I would say that's part of like traveling, meeting people, meeting cultures, to see how what you get or what you consider as granted, it may be different to somewhere else, So initially, yeah, I mean, from the beginning, going to Spain, it was already a change. I was able to see how many things were different there, how many things were different in Europe, either just by culture or by like rules, by law. So it was like, wow, it is different.
And did it affect, or maybe not affect, but inspire your research project here at FSU? Maybe you can tell me more about what you research here.
Well, yeah. Well, probably this is a good moment. This is a good moment to talk about this. My experience hasn't been on research itself. I am coming more from like a professional background, trying to switch to academia, So my master, it was more on a professional side, let's say, and also my experience. Right? My experience was also like focused on a professional side. In FSU is where I am like earning those research skills, is where I am improving those skills that I'm using towards my research. And yes, this has been also a process of transformation. But in general, yes, the answer will be yes. I have been through my experience. I've like get the inspiration to work on what I'm working right now, which is towards ranking, cycles of power, cycle of power generation, and to make them more like efficient, and to make them more accessible, to people in general.
And so, like, is your research focuses more in like Colombia, like how to make energy more accessible in Colombia, or it's more like a new way of using energy? We all know that we're gonna be, well, maybe not us, but future generation, they won't have energy anymore. So are you trying to find a new way, a new source?
Kind of, yeah. And the answer to that question will be towards the latter, not just in the Colombian context. It will be like in a worldwide context. So the idea, in general, research question right now in many of the fields, it is towards how we can optimize, how we can make these systems be better. As keeping in mind that we are using resources, either renewable or not, we need to optimize the use of them. We need to extract or to take most advantage of them as we could. So the idea right now, working on what I'm working, is to optimize, to enhance their efficiency.
Yeah, talking about the Hispanic community. So you were the president of HiGSA for like 2 years ago, for 1 year or 2 years?
Well, I was the vice president for 1 year, and after that, I was the president. And after that, I was the advisor of the following board. So, I mean, in general, since the beginning of my time here in Tallahassee, I have been part of the organization.
Yeah, very involved, I see. And why was it so important for you to be involved in HiGSA?
Well, everything started before I was coming to Tallahassee. As soon as I got to know that I was coming to Tallahassee, through the Fulbright network, I tried to contact a good friend of mine here in town. Her name is Beatriz. She's from Colombia. She's a Fulbrighter from Colombia. She already graduated. Well, so when I got to know that it was coming, I just messaged her without knowing her. I just introduced myself. I was asking her help regarding like all the things that I need to keep in mind before coming. And it was really nice of her that she, with like open arm, received my message. She replied back, and she like sent me a long email, a very long email, and she was the point of connection with HiGSA. So before coming to Tallahassee, I was already aware of the organization. I was already connected to the organization. And when I came the day that I came, she was there waiting for me. She helped me to settle in, and from there it was just like going downstream, meeting people from different countries, from different backgrounds. I got to see, all of my friends in town are part of HiGSA.
So could we say that your favorite part about the FSU is actually HiGSA?
Yeah, that wouldn't be incorrect. That's true. Yeah.
What makes you proud to be Hispanic, and how it helped you in the pursuit of your graduate degree?
Well, that's a really good question. I would say in general, I don't know, probably the way that we are raised, or the way that we are in our culture. Two very important words that we always keep in mind, or at least in my case, and I'm really grateful for my culture in that regard, is flexibility and resilience. Those are two big words in for me, or at least the heritage that I'm getting from my culture. From being Hispanic. We need to be flexible. We need to be resilient, and I think those two words, they have helped me to go through this process. It is not easy, or at least it has not been easy for me to go back to grad school after many years of being in professional setups, going back to academia, and being able to take a book again, to study, to go for an exam, and this and that. Yeah, and those two words have been like really important tools for me. Being able to adapt, being able to change quickly, being able to find opportunities where you find an obstacle. Those has been like really important in the pursuit of my degree.
And where do you see yourself in 5 years from today? Do you still see yourself there or somewhere else in the world?
I will say any country of the world. Yes, yeah, any country of the world. It could be my country. It could be any country of the world. I consider myself like a citizen of the world, trying to this experience in Spain, this experience in the US. They have been just like opening the boundaries for me, opening my limits, and now I can see the entire world as home. Being able to adapt, being able to change. That's perfect.
And do you see yourself in more like a professional position or more in an academic position?
I will say I will be good in either of both, but if I can find a way to connect both, that would be probably the best for me. Being able to interact in professional settings, going back or receiving feedback from academic settings, like keeping that loop going between one and the other. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to talk with you and to talk more about your amazing journey. I love interviewing all of you guys because everybody has their own story, and I feel like every story is incredible.
Yes, I know it is. And thanks very much, Honorine, for this opportunity. I know for us Hispanic, it is very important to have these spaces, to to show ourselves, to show our culture. That's really important. It is something I really appreciate. Can I finish with an advice for those people looking for grad school?
Yeah.
My advice would be to go for that challenge. Grad school is gonna be amazing. It's gonna be, as in my case, it has been a transformation process. It's gonna be for you a transformation process. The only risk that you are gonna find is being able to be changed, to be transformed. So go for it. One more piece of advice I will say, it is go to a different area. Why to keep working on the same area that you are working on? Try to explore a different area and then try to connect those two areas. That's a good challenge that you are gonna be able to overcome.